Morning, everyone. Welcome to Talking Horses. The much tougher Maggie Wolfendale and the much less tough Andy Serling. You are not dressed for the third floor here at Belmont.
I'm impervious to the cold weather.
Really?
All
It's a
those
Maryland
winters
thing or
you've made,
something?
no, all the winters you've made
That's
me
true.
stand
That's-
out at
yeah, that's
Aqueducts,
my
I
fault.
think is
That's
what
my
has
fault.
happened.
So, yes, in Maggie and my relationship, I only get the blame. In our very long relationship. We've been together even longer than you and Tom have been together.
Correct. You hold that over
I
him.
am, you are one of my longer-term relationships. You might be my
I'm kind of
longest-term
proud of
relationship.
that I've
It's pretty amazing.
I've earned my
We've
stripes.
stuck it out pretty well, as have
Yeah.
I. Anyhow, nice to be here at Belmont. 9-race card to talk about. Of course, we're getting closer to Belmont Stakes Racing Festival. We drew the Thursday card yesterday. We'll draw Friday today, and then the Belmont
The big
draw
one.
will be on Tuesday, an event that Maggie and I are both extremely happy we're not involved in. Anyhow, you need to be involved with Naira Bets. If you're not a member of Naira Bets, run over to NairaBets.com and use the promo code Belmont25, and we will match the $200 of your initial deposit and give you a free $25 bet. We have so much to talk about from Slateville. We have the middle pick four in race number 3, 2, 3, and 6 for those pick four today. We have.
Sounds like a new Dr. Seuss book,
Yeah.
Slateville.
Do they still have Dr. Seuss books coming out? Do you buy them for the kids?
Yeah, I mean,
I love
yes,
Dr.
they
Seuss.
don't really come out anymore, but I've bought them pretty much
Okay.
every Dr. Seuss book imaginable.
I was a big fan as a kid
Same.
as well. Cross country big five, some Monmouth, some Woodbine, some Churchill, and a couple races at Belmont as well. We also have the $5,000 hit and split. You got to opt in for this. This is on the Belmont or Monmouth late pick five, or both. 2,500 each. You can hit. It actually should be Belmont. Well, I see. Either one. You can hit and/or. You don't have to hit both, but either one. You'll split 2,500 with other members. Naira Bet that hit it. Always worth opting in for that. If you're playing those bets, it's just added value. Where else are we here? We have the free-to-play games. Go to free2play.nairabets.com. Real prizes are awarded. You don't have to register. Just head on over to free2play.nairabets.com. And last, we got more. We got the Test of the Champion. We still have some
A lot of
tickets on sale.
traffic from Slateville today.
Come on, Hal. Yeah, oh yeah, it's a big. I told you it was a warned you, it was a big day for slates today. We're excited. I'll tell you what the cool giveaway. You see the giveaway that Greg had up here? I don't know. He got
What?
one. They have 5,000 reproductions of the actual program from Secretariat's.
Neat.
Really
All right.
cool. There's an allowance
That's
race
very
before where Forgo actually set a track record, but Forgo
wow,
was in
that's
there. Engel Light was in there, who was Secretariat stablemate that won the Wood Memorial, and also a horse named Step Nicely, who you're probably not familiar with. He was the morning line favorite.
Yeah.
He was a hobo horse that Alan Jerkins trained.
Yeah.
When I got in the game right around then,
He was good.
he was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I remember him running in Saratoga. In fact, I think the first summer I started going in '74. And finally, last but not least, and if you like precise, well, we got it for you. 12:30 to 4:48. You'll be able to catch, I guess, the last race. Go over to YouTube, and you can catch the show, because we will be doing a show till 5:30, but we will only be on FS2 until, and be sure of this, Maggie, 4:48.
I'm going to set my watch
Well,
right
you
now.
will be gone by then, right?
I get off at 4:20.
There you go. Now we know why. Anyway, today's first race. So right now there's a lot of money for Call the Cavalry.
You don't have any picks. What's happening?
Hey, it's your lucky day. No, so you know what?
You can go home.
I'm going to go. I'm a little hungry. Maggie's going to take over, apparently. So I'm assuming that Call the Cavalry is being bet because Irad's riding at this point.
That's what I thought as well. And maybe, people see, well, Kenny McPeek's shipping this one in to Belmont. I don't know. It feels like, Kenny's going to be represented in New York here this summer, especially when you go to Saratoga. And furthermore, how many, 2-year-old races are going up?
They have their slate up. They love the slates.
Churchill. And racing at Churchill is now over. So, look, if you go back, the Dam won some cheaper dirt sprints. Little bit more turf. The Dam was half to Delightful Kiss, who's a multiple graded stakes winner, but albeit going longer. So I just felt as though, especially on the outside with Constitution, a son of Constitution, that I feel like Christophe Clement and Rudy Rodriguez were maybe just a little bit easier to trust here at Belmont with their 2-year-old firsters.
No, I felt exactly the same way you did. We talked about it briefly before we came on, and I saw it the same way. I mean, we flip-flopped our picks, but I don't think either one of us has a strong opinion either way. Now, obviously, there's no money for Rudy early, but Rudy wanted a square price here the other day, and we'll take a look at the 2-year-old sales workout, which I'm certain you watched as well. I mean, I didn't think the horse. I thought the horse looked okay. And it just seems like usually, though it wasn't the case when he won the other day, Rudy's firsters, these 2-year-olds, early in the year, they have speed.
They do, but this guy didn't look like he should have speed in this workout. I must admit, he did linger on that inside lead. He kind of has almost a turfy type of action, the way he kind of got over the ground there, the synthetic surface, but he also didn't look as though he was going 10-1. He looked as though he was going slower, so that's always a good sign. So the thing is he's a Catholic boy, and we'll see.
We've only he may be he's the second one,
I think. So we'll see which they prefer, because obviously he could run on both, being a Grade 1 winner on both surfaces. But there's plenty of dirt on the bottom side. The dam is half to Swift Temper, who's a Grade 1 winning dirt router. I just thought that maybe watching that work and looking at the pedigree, he might want to go a bit further, if not want the turf. So that's why I landed on every 4 years on the outside. Granted, there's plenty of turf on the bottom side of this pedigree.
There is. Good turf.
But Constitution does... He's versatile, but he does strike at an awfully high percentage with his debuters at 2 at 19%.
All right.
And so does Christophe.
See what happens. First time out, first timers, and the 2-year-olds, not all first timers, but 4 of them are. Race number 2. Race number 2, my top choice was Encourage, who scratched. And
really? That did not look like your type cup
you know,
of tea.
Maggie, I'm so sick of the horses I've been looking at in this race, and the way I looked at it with that horse was he ran fast enough in his first start to be able to handle a little bit of the dirt. Maybe he's improved since then.
And I thought Kenny had good numbers. First time for a tag turf to dirt, he was 9 for 33.
He's got decent numbers, turf to dirt in general.
Yeah.
And I scratched into Cheeky Tico. We'll look at him and Cumberland Blues. You've got Cumberland Blues on top and Cheeky Tico. We sort of flip-flopped. One of us has 1/4 and the other one on top. I just thought Cheeky Tico could have a tactical advantage. I scratched into him. I'm not thrilled.
I think with the outside post, Cumberland Blues should be aggressive. I mean, look, I know we didn't get there, and it was kind of a slowish pace.
He's got more speed than he's shown lately.
I know, and I just feel like that they're sticking with going longer again, that they want this horse to be forward. And last time, I thought he was kind of slammed from either side at the start, and he was never really persevered with throughout the running of that race for 42 Ace. He was the drop down. He got loose on the lead. He took them all the way. I get Cheeky Tico. He was kind of out in no man's land.
I thought Cheeky Tico was the one that they didn't persevere with. I actually thought Irad was pretty into Cumberland Blues. They were coming around the turn while Jose was giving up on Cheeky Tico about the 5/16
Well,
pole.
the good news is they both get different riders today. And so we'll
I'm
see.
sure they're happy
hopefully.
about it. The riders, that is. I can't speak for the horses, but the riders probably not crying about it either.
Yeah, so I got to give Cumberland Blues one more chance. I picked him last time because I thought that the mile suited him. He didn't get a great start. I'm hoping the outside post, Joel, is aggressive with him. I think that's his best chance to win, because I guess Union Lights could win here. I mean,
look at his
maybe
replay.
Rounding back into form, and at this level, he does feel as though he's very competitive. He left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth going 2 back. I know it was like a slow pace.
It's a bad race.
But
at least he's coming off a win.
A win.
I mean, you and I each have horses on top that were horrendous last time, and whether or not they were persevered with, they were going nowhere. It's not like the riders stopped riding when they were going to be effective in the race. They gave up because the horse had given up. I mean, it's not. And at least this guy won last time. So for that matter, and Michelle has started off the meeting extremely well, and not surprising, she's a terrific trainer. But I mean, at least he won last time. I've got him second for that reason. And
now, of course, he's stepping up in company. That's why I didn't love him per se.
I agree.
What did you think of you didn't use Mo Rewards at all?
I did not. And I normally am interested in Lolita Shimongo horses because she does well. I know the race, it was a ridiculously bad field last time out in the slop, and I almost felt like he won by default last time out. And I don't love horses claimed away from Linda Rice, especially ones that she sort of gave away. Yeah, that was why. I don't have a single definitive opinion in a number of these races coming up. They're tricky races. I mean, some races sort of, even if your opinions end up being wrong, for different people, races handicap themselves for us a little bit, whether our opinions do well. These races, I mentioned this, you and I were texting the other night when I was looking at it, and I said, there's a lot of very, very confusing races on Sunday's card.
Right, and there are a bunch of horses that we've kind of seen beat each other, take turns, beating each other in races that you just don't know who's going to step up on the day and who's going to pull the right trip. It's very muddled races.
I agree, and it's, you want to have horses you have more trust in.
Yeah.
And a lot of these I'm not sure I do. Now, race number 3, excuse me, Oh Trouble Scratched. I didn't want to go back a year, and I probably should have got a replay for 3-2 Zone. What do you do with him? I mean, Ray is just, you've got him on top, I've got him second, but this is not a move you see from Ray Handel a lot, from any train. This horse, they're just dumping this guy.
They are. I was fully expecting to see him scratch, even though I put him on top.
Well, he's the horse to beat by a lot.
He's definitely the horse to beat. At first I thought maybe I don't want to put him on top because he just, well, A, they're giving up. B, it feels like he's just not picking up his feet anymore. It just feels like he's going in motion. But also it feels as though maybe he hasn't gotten, the races to necessarily come back to him against much better horses. I thought today, weaker company, that maybe it comes back to him a little bit. Now, the scratch of Oh Trouble doesn't help him at all, but you still have motion to strike.
My horse either.
Motion to strike. We'll see what they...
We'll look at that replay. Motion to strike. And, I wanted to show that because Print Rack got the best of him, but I feel like Motion to Strike is the more naturally fast horse. And in this race, Print Rack's going to have to be used to keep up with him. And if I had to take one of the two, oddly enough, even though Print Rack buried him last time, I actually am going to take Tally Lynch with Motion to Strike to stick it out a little bit better. He's the speed that I want more. How's that?
Yeah, he's the speed of the speed in here. There's no denying that.
But Prince Rack was pretty good last time, relatively speaking, and he does have some back numbers that are pretty good.
He does. He just feels like a horse that, more often than not, he has shown up, but every now and again, he'll throw in a clunker. And are we going to trust him to keep things going? One
of the problems I have, just not to belabor it with 3-2 Zone, is that a smart friend of mine had made a valid point, I think, that 105 or 104 that Synthesis got could be in the 8-point tie range. And if that's the case, then suddenly 3-2 Zone, the drop down is more understandable because he ran a figure in the 60s.
Right.
And coupled with the Parks race, maybe he's just lost all form he had a year ago. As far as Jalen Journey, obviously I don't love him. I found a stat for Rob Atras. I didn't put it up, but it was too small. But he's 3 for 10, 50% drop, second off the claim in the dirt. But he's 3 for 5 with sprinters.
Yeah.
So the ones that have won have been sprinters, and he's done well in this situation. And he wasn't on the rail last time, but he was fairly close to it. He was in the 2-path last time when the rail was the wrong place to be. And I thought maybe for Rob, he's not the new face to it. He's a drop down. My worry with him, and this is something we've talked about before, he was claimed from Lynn Cash, and the numbers on horses claimed from Lynn Cash are not good.
No, it just feels like they are finished commodities once
they've traveled a lot. They've done a lot of traveling. Those Lynn Cash horses,
and if they're not running every other week, they are breezing in 47 and change every to fill in the gap. So
that worries me about this horse.
I agree with you. And furthermore, when you look back through that race and the horses that have come out of it, they have underperformed.
I also agree. We liked risk profile going forward and didn't run well.
I know.
No, I know. Now race number 4 is another one. Race number 4. It feels like this is another one with a murky pace, and the horse we'll look at here, Let Freedom Spring, and we'll show the race 2 back, as I was just sort of struggling to even find replays to show for some of these races. He's going to be in front, I think, of Central Pride. My problem here is, Maggie, I didn't want to take Central Pride and Randy Persaud. No disrespect, Randy, but I'm not betting your horses at short prices.
No, and furthermore, this is a horse who, in his last 2 starts, has completely lost any kind of forward position.
Yeah.
There are better horses. I'm not denying that in long range.
But you're right. He hasn't shown an iota of speed.
Right. Like, be a little bit in the game. he just didn't show enough for me. I get it. He's dropping here, and who knows, maybe he steps up and finds some of his old form again. But Clash AJ, at the end of the day, does have a bit of several races to go back on. You know, the last 2 times he was wired. And 2 back, he had that stumbling start. And really, at the end of the day, he's not, he doesn't have that much speed, but he's not going to be outpaced.
He shouldn't be that far back. I don't want the 7 let freedom. Thing is, the one thing I'm not doing in these races, I'm not defaulting to IRAD. And his horses are just getting, I mean, Diamond Hands is the 3-to-1 second choice yesterday.
No,
How
true.
is Diamond Hands almost half the price of the winner?
The owner had said that she had worked with Nest, and so I don't know if that was something that
Nest
people
is
were
going
looking
to be
like.
as a turf sprinter now?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
And by the way,
Yeah.
Diamond Hands is who she is. I think Diamond Hands is a really nice horse. I'm not knocking her. You want her
She's
sprinting
gotten
on the
unlucky
you want her
too,
sprinting on the
though.
turf. That's my whole point.
No.
Against a horse that, okay, you had to have an excuse for the last race at Tampa, but the winner of that race was running races as a 2-year-old that were fast enough to win the race.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying the horse just because the horse won, and you know, or we like the horse. It's not that. It's that how is that horse twice the price of
Doing
it's just
something
the
she'd
IRAD
never
it's the
done
IRAD
before.
factor.
Right.
If IRAD wasn't riding that horse, she would have been 9-2 or 5-1. I'm not saying she would have been a huge price, but I think there's an actual reason. I'll tell you one thing: if IRAD rode the winner, not Trevor, that horse would have clearly been favored over Time in Hand.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's something you have to take into account when I'm looking at a lot of races, and she's 2-1. And David makes these horses to her. He is 2-1 because of IRAD. When you're looking at a lot of races, and I'm thinking, why am I supposed to let a freedom spring because IRAD's riding this horse? What is he going to do for this horse?
I know,
As good
and
as he is, and he's terrific, but I mean, I don't understand what he's not like. You know, he's not like getting on horses and they're running a lot faster for him.
And I mean, yeah, like you said, he could be the speed in here, but he's also turning back, and sometimes that'll dull a horse's speed a little bit. I agree with you. I could not take this horse at 2-1,
Right, or less,
or less, as
With the
you
scratch,
said. With
it's
the
clearly going to
scratch.
be 6 or 7-5, and as Claire's Class AJ. He's good enough to have a shot in here. I understand. It's Elijah Greenidge. He's had very little experience. He did win a race here early. Neither of us are knocking him one way or the other, but he's not. You've got rider trainer that aren't going to take money. In fact, is going to be a bigger price probably than he should be against a horse that's going to be a shorter price than he should be.
Solely because of the rider.
IRAD is a much better rider. There's no doubt about that. But,
yeah.
I still would rather take the price
Oh, sure.
than go with the rider.
And like I said, he's run races against better fields that could make him a winner here.
I couldn't agree more. We'll see what happens. Hey, listen, in a week, I got Dalton Brown home the other day. I'm going for the
That was
Elijah
impressive.
Greenidge. What's that?
Yeah, that was impressive.
I'm proud of it. I got $7. So. I tried for the double in the
Yeah.
first race. I tried the back-to-back with him yesterday, but it
did.
wasn't his fault. Believe me,
Yeah,
he was riding. He was
Yep.
trying very, very hard with that horse. Race number 5 before we take a break. There's no chance Maggie and I don't have the same horse on top of the. You didn't pick Leah, and I did. Does it worry you that Leah might become my better friend to me than you because I'm picking horses and you're not?
I think it's fair that I'm married to the guy that I picked on top.
Because you always like his horses. I'm the one to text you and say I like Tom's horse, and you go, that horse can't win.
Usually they can't. This horse is a very logical spot.
I actually texted Maggie about one, and
Mama
she said to
Bambi.
me, it was a maiden special on the New York bred, and she said he's a maiden claimer. And then he won his next race in a maiden claimer, and I didn't pick him or bet him. And Maggie said, I told you. Did you bet him? I went, go away. Leave me alone. Anyhow, as far as St. James, I mean, you're getting Manny Franco on a horse that is dropping in. I mean, I know it's not dropping in class, but based on who this horse has run against in the past, and listen, if this horse runs the last race, he's getting nothing. But overall, this horse has the best body of work, and so that's why I haven't talked.
And I mean, absolutely no disrespect to Mike Leslie, but Manny Franco does take over, and it felt like he just broke from an outside post position,
Yep.
kind of broke at the back, stayed wide, and just never really kind of picked up the pieces at all. But like you said, this horse certainly has the go-back races, and you look at the horses that he's run against in those turf routes, it just feels like he's facing nobody that stacks up to those fields
Do or die
today.
for him today.
No,
He's supposed
it really
to get it
is.
done.
Yeah.
As far as steady scheming, well, He should be somewhat forward, right?
And I thought he ran the best race of that Common Pioneering Spirit race. Beja Du did set the pace. Seemed to be just a little headstrong with Kendrick. It probably didn't do him any favors in the end, but the pace did come back, and Steady Scheming was on top of that pace. So just the ones out of that race, he did run the best race. And there's upside. You know, he isn't as exposed as the 4-year-old maiden St. James or the 5-year-old maiden There Goes My Miracle.
Speaking of There Goes My Miracle, it's a good segue there, Maggie. We'll take a look at a race at Saratoga at 1 mile and a 16th that would make him tough in this race. And I know he's run mediocrely lately, but I'll tell you something. I think he's actually better going longer.
But my problem, Andy, is
I'm not
that
in love with
he
him.
got no. I
By
know
any stretch.
is that he got to walk basically towards the front end.
And it'll
in
be a
this
faster
race
pace today.
with the stretch out. I mean,
That's
and
fair.
his hands a little bit forced from that inside post position. I would have to think.
They're going to outrun him, though. They're just faster than he is, right?
Right. That's what I thought. Ooh, you getting tone?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, it's fun.
I love it. Prep
So.
for the show. Favorite part of the show.
Am I going to be surprised when he jumps up and wins here? No. I mean,
This
I have him
race?
third. Yeah, exactly.
And I also thought, much like our horse in the race before it, the connections might keep the price a little bit higher.
Sure.
Believe me, I'm not, you know, to say you're in love with somebody in this race would be a little ridiculous. The problem is, you know, you talk about the horse you have on top, I have third, the 1, the 5, we have the same 3 horses. What are the cases you want to make for the other horses in here? And I'm sure we both searched long and hard to make a case for anybody and everybody
There's
in here.
no turf pedigree with the 3 or even the huge long shot, the 4 that you could get
It's getting
excited
louder,
about.
by the
Yeah,
way.
it's definitely getting louder.
Yeah.
I
have a question.
Newendike, I don't think wants to go long.
Didn't Seth have a horse named Globalization very recently, or is it some slight derivation on that?
That's a great question. It feels like a Seth name, right?
It feels like there was that turf
should look it
horse
up on
that went
Aquabase.
long that used to close, run against Shawty, Shawty, Shawty. You know what I'm talking about? The horse, it feels like it's a similar name, but obviously it's not Globalization. It just, I thought that and thought. We'll try to figure out that really important piece of information while we take a quick break and hear from our good friends at Saratoga Water.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day exquisite.
Maggie Wolfendale and Andy Serling for a Sunday Talking Horses. I'm excited for the weekend. It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
It's going to be beautiful
It's
weather, good racing.
exactly.
I did the Thursday card last night. It's a really fun card. Looking
Good.
forward to seeing Friday's card today. And, of
Yeah.
course, Saturday's Belmont Stakes card will be drawn on Tuesday. That Belmont Stakes draw, you can watch it on YouTube, by the way, the NYRA YouTube channel.
I can't believe it's here already.
I know, it comes fast, and you know, and then we got a few weeks left, and we head up to Saratoga. I know.
I mean,
It
I'm always
goes
excited, but
no, it's great.
slow
but
down,
The
summer.
problem with Saratoga, and obviously we love Saratoga, and I certainly do, and seeing my mom, is that
Yeah.
you go up there, and it goes so quickly, and then it's fall.
I know.
That's
And
the
then you're
problem.
like,
Then
"Ugh."
summer's over.
Yeah.
Because I'm neurotic, and that's how I think about the world. So we'll look at Liberty Flame, who I just didn't want to pick her. She is probably a lead pipe cinch. The scratch of the 7 takes out even a tertiary speed from the race.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question, and this is obviously the only real question. Are you concerned that she's not really a router? She ran reasonably well in her first time routing, but she doesn't really want a mile, and she won't run as well the next time she goes a mile. You're looking at me like I'm crazy, so clearly you disagree.
It's funny. Yes, I used to be under that total impression that the first time you want a horse stretching out is the first time they do it, or the only time you want.
If the
is
horse
first
isn't
time
really
to-
a, if the horse
But
isn't
I
really a
almost
router.
I almost feel like that is something that can be said more for whatever reason, 2-turn races, because they're run so much differently.
Yeah, that's fair.
So now, she is going the mile again. She is a pretty long lanky filly. From the physical perspective of things, I think that she's A-okay at least at a mile. Not much more than that, but I mean, she just is gone here.
She may not even run well today and still win the race.
Yeah.
And the horse I picked obviously is on the lower level side. I don't know how she beat Yogi last time, but I will tell you one thing.
I thought she ran well,
She
though.
actually ran pretty well
Yeah.
last time, and I don't want to judge her by her prior body of work. Because
No.
based on her prior body of work, she shouldn't have run a step last time.
Yeah.
And the reality is, she feels like a horse that ran well enough last time that I know has no problems with the distance. So I'm going to take her as I guess at this point, second choice. I know April Antics a little bit lower. Who's going to bet April Antics in here? I mean, I'll tell you what bothers me about Liberty Flame. She beat Sweetie by a nose. The horse off the maiden win for the 5-year-old first-time star that won from 100 back for Gary Siaka. And maybe she's okay, Sweetie, but that kind of bothered me enough. I just wanted to pick somebody else, but I'm not. I get it.
Yeah, I couldn't take, as you go through these condition claimers, I just couldn't take one that, I don't know.
Ran at a lower level?
It just had been at a lower level. And, I'm not going to be surprised if Mersal, I'm not going to be, knocking me over with a feather surprise if Mersal is able to beat Liberty Flame in here.
She's
but,
the only one I want.
Right.
If
And I
anybody
just
else
thought
wins,
Liberty
I'll
Flame
be
is
shocked.
so
Like
much
I would use 1 and 3 in this race, and if somebody else wins, I could never win.
And just Kendrick, just so effective on the front end. And I mean, look, she could stumble at the start, and
Well,
her
you
race
can't.
could be over.
You
but
can't look at it that
No,
way.
you
I mean,
can't.
she's dropping the level they claimed her at, and she got a little money for finishing second in her last race. It's the right move by them, and she's an overwhelming. She's
what
got
is she going to be?
3 to 5.
5, yeah.
I think she's good. I think if she had IRAD, she'd be 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Race number 7. I thought the 7th and 8th were far
Eighth is
and
really
away
good.
the most
Eighth
interesting
is a really
races,
fun
right?
race. This one isn't bad either.
So we're going to get the replay. I wish if I'd known you picked it on time, I would have put the replay higher. But we'll start. I want to start with the More Than Work Born a Gambler, and I didn't put the stats up, but because it's also not off the claim, but it's first time off the claim
Well,
on the turf
Ashes.
for Carlos Martin. Carlos's numbers, I'm sure
0
you
for
looked it up.
12.
He's 0 for 12 off the claim on the turf, and that worries me a little bit. More Than Work got it done here. I know Splendid Summer came back to win, but he walked to the dog on the front end against a terrible field, and he isn't even a speed horse. I'm not a big fan of these horses, Maggie.
No, I mean, to be fair, Mauritius came back in a higher level claimer and ran a 79 as well, the same number as Splendid Summer. It just kind of feels like they are what they are. And I felt like with Urban Myth, and
Can we show the Urban Myth replay second, guys? I'm sorry, I should have changed that. If we could go to that second.
I'm a huge fan of
Show her win two back.
Jenna Antonucci, and there's every reason to believe that, Kerry Bryan had this horse when he first started running, but I mean, that was a long time ago. But it feels like he's a new horse as a 5-year-old. This was a very good effort when he broke his maiden and this
is
race
last
here.
time. I wanted to show this.
Look,
so that
the head-on's even more telling.
he doesn't look blocked, but he never had a path to run at.
Never.
Never.
And then the 8 comes off the rail a little bit, and he has to kind of jink back, over
It's just a
a
bad
step.
spot to be in.
Bad
I
step.
thought it was just such a tepid ride. He should have been more aggressive in that hole on the inside early in the race.
Agree. He
Right.
wanted to go. The horse was fighting him the entire way, really, to go up in there, and it turned out, it wasn't a dawdling pace by any
8 to 1
means, but
here?
I don't know. Connections? Do connections make him a bigger price?
If people haven't figured out that Kerry Bryan can train, I don't think we can help them. I mean,
Yeah.
I know, I agree. And by the way, if people haven't figured out that Katie Davis can ride,
Right.
we can't help them. I mean, I'm not saying
of
that it's
Katie's
not
rides-
Irad and Todd Pletcher or Chad Brown, but that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that these people aren't really good.
Yeah,
she rides
exactly.
extremely well. If she's on a live horse, you'd never worry about it. And Kerry Bryan's a very good trainer.
Exactly. So you're gonna. I would think maybe she's not 8 to. He's not 8 to 1. Maybe.
No,
He's
listen,
4 to 1. Maybe he's 5 to
David's
1.
lines are right, so
No,
I'm
they
not
are. I
arguing
mean,
the line. I'm just,
right.
I mean, because I look at like Penner Ash, okay, who will show the replay of his last race. He's 3 to 1 on the line. Really? Okay, he beat Mauritius. They're okay, those horses, but I want somebody else. I want somebody from a new place than that group.
The
Born
biggest
Gambler.
thing Penner Ash has going for him is that he looks to be
The speed.
The speed.
Yep.
especially with blinkers on. But I couldn't get over that stat with Carlos Martin. With him, the 0 for 12, and then
Claiming from Mike Maker.
right, and then more than work, claim from Brad Cox. Do you really want to
No.
take these kind of horses, claim from those types of very effective barns, especially on the turf? So I
Carlos
just
is
saw
running
Urban Myth.
Penderbash back very quickly. He's running back on the training of Mike Maker, and it's a smart move by him. So in that regard, I don't think the trainer switch. And listen, it's 0 for 12. It can change quite quickly, and it may change today.
You took Parketry on top.
Okay. I understand that Parketry may be pace compromised in here, and I
That was
have
my
no
point.
issue with the 3. I didn't think Urban Myth would be 8 to 1. We'll see what price they are. I'm interested in both of them. I do have the one that's the higher price. I know there's not a lot of pace here, but I will say a couple things. First of all, the last field was a tougher field, I think, that he was in.
Oh, absolutely.
And that was
yeah.
as ridiculous a merry-go-round race as you're ever going to see. He had no chance. I mean, look at who he's speaking.
25
There's
and
Shawty.
49.
Oh, Orchestration. It's in the next race. That's the
Oh.
horse. Orchestration.
That's so
That's
funny.
scary. That's the horse,
Oh,
right?
the
Okay,
universe.
we got it. All right. There was a horse Globalized a long time ago, right? Globalized may have been a good horse a while ago,
I
right?
can't remember.
That horse ran like a Breeders' Cup or
Yeah.
something. This horse is based better horses. Is not a 1 3/8 horse. I just thought this horse is getting not class relief but company relief for Barkley.
Oh, sure. Like I said, I couldn't get over the fact that he just has no speed
No, that bothers me.
whatsoever.
It bothers me. But Trevor's going to figure it out.
What do you do? I mean, you don't have this horse anywhere because obviously he's going to take more money than he should. But that's number 2, Born a Gambler. He has participated in both races with More Than Work and Splendid Summer. But now he's going out for arguably the leading, second maybe to Chad Brown, leading one of the leading turf trainers in. But how long has he been in his barn? I know is probably what you're going to say.
No, I was going to say Roddy Valenti wins when I don't pick him, and he loses when I pick him, and I like Roddy, so I'm being nice to him.
Oh,
I'm not
it's a
picking him. I'm
courtesy.
not picking him because he's going to take a lot of money because he's Irad Ortiz. And honestly, I looked at this card and I thought these races were very tough. And I have to look at Irad's horses and say, now, could I have had him 3rd or 4th? Maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't know. He's not that good. You've got to. You're betting him
No,
strictly
he is
hoping he's
what
going to
he
prove
is.
for Mike Maker, and you're taking the worst of it because Irad's riding him. To
Yeah.
me, that's a bad gamble.
Yeah, the 47 flat breeze kind of jumped out at me, and I
Yep.
would think that was for Mike. So he scares me
Sure.
in here. But
I got him
he's
5th,
just
if
gonna
it
be
makes you feel better.
Yeah, I parked
Roddy
you
had him
5th.
5th. I had him 5th. So.
We have the same horses.
I,
just-
listen, there are a lot of horses that can win this race. I'm not. At the end of the day, for me, the 3 and 6 are the best 2 prices in here. In a race
Absolutely.
where I'm not overly thrilled by any of them, and I'm not going to take a horse being overbet because of Irad. And I want to see these horses win for Carlos of the Claim. And Carlos and I've been friendly with Carlos for a long time. I want him to do well, but I'm not going to jump that stat. And I just thought these horses were both a little interesting.
Yep.
Particularly your horse, to be honest. An 8 to 1 versus
Yeah.
10 to 1 might be a better bet. Race number 8. This is a very, very contentious race. I was surprised by David's line. I was going to pick Chuck Willis and then decided I'm not taking this horse at 5 to 2.
7-year-old that's only had 16 starts.
I know, and I know he's the lone
And
speed at
he's-
7.
They're like dangling him.
but I don't want.
right?
I don't want this horse on top. But he is kind of the horse to beat, right?
Yeah, it feels like maybe he got beaten by a decent horse last time. He had to work to get to the lead, going the 2-turn 7.5, and was pretty game all the way down to the wire. Against a highly regarded Chad Brown import in Dr. Zemp. So
Starting over, finished 3rd is a Robbie Falcone horse.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
actually pretty good.
He is.
High Tide. I was surprised. I should say I was surprised David had him 5 to 1. But then again, you and I don't have him in the top 4, so he's probably right. If neither one of us, and we show his last race, I know he runs by appointment only. But if he,
right.
but when he runs,
he shows
he
up.
runs big figs.
I mean, this effort was huge. He
Right.
was so much the best.
I thought he was
Estee
getting nothing. I thought
because he was
they
out the
pitched him.
back door.
Yep.
He had trouble at the start. Then he just launches this relentless wide rally. And how often did trips like this win at Saratoga on the turf?
Not like this. I thought, I bet against him, and I thought going early in the race, I said, well, you got at least that one right. And it didn't matter. And he just
Yeah.
consistently runs the same big figures. He's been out a while. I don't trust him off the layoff.
That's
Obviously,
the
tried to
thing.
beat him. But at 5 to 1, he's kind of usable,
He's
isn't he?
appealing at that if he is that price because he is, you said, consistently run faster numbers than several of them in here besides Chuck Willis. But Chuck Willis feels like just more suspicious, right?
It's not a great. Well, I mean, on the other hand, you hit a nail on the head. He's a 7-year-old gelding making his 17th start.
Yeah.
Maybe they're saying to people, you want to take this horse off our hands. He does show up and run well when he
does,
runs, so it's
yeah.
not like he's bad. Now, turn of events, it's funny, and we'll show the replay of his. I'm going to show a bunch of his last race from the start to the 3/8, so you can see the trouble. But then again, you're ticking Carlos Martin, and this went off the claim on the turf.
I know. I'm not proud of it.
He's very live.
That's why I didn't pick him in the former race. But this guy did we had a lot of rain, right? I mean, this was one of only 2 races other than the stake that was on the turf that day, and it just looked like from the start, Andy. Obviously, the trouble's huge. But even before that, I'm not totally sure that this horse was necessarily handling the going, because you saw him kind of running with his head up in the air, and maybe it was just getting clods kicked back in his face. But he's better than that last
Except
race.
Carlos claimed him for that, and now he's running him back for 40,000. And I agree. May not have handled the ground. He lost all chance there. There's nothing Kendrick could do at that point when he steadied out of there. And now he comes back for 40 a month later.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's a $70,000 race once again, but they're looking to get out while the getting's good. And that worried me a little bit. I've got him third. It's not like I don't think he can win.
Yeah, I honestly.
That worries me a little bit.
I for once in my life, I did usually I handicap with the morning line, and I didn't think he'd be 4 to 1.
Oh, I figured he had to take money off that. First of all,
Yeah.
he's an accomplished racehorse. I mean, it's not like.
But prior to 2 starts back when he was on the dirt, okay, fine, and that last start, he is as consistent as they come.
No.
Yeah.
He's if not the horse to beat one of them.
Although this Hammer Time stables for Carlos, they seem to find some decent horses and will be aggressive with them. So that's kind of.
I wish you had been here for the MC Hammer days back in.
Oh my God! I wish I was here.
Are
you kidding me?
I was talking about it with somebody on the phone the other night. We were talking about it. It was legendary stuff. Really, it was. I mean, people I'm sure have seen the YouTube video of the CCA Oaks with him in the boxes. It's great moments in horse racing history. As far as Ballydooley, and I think Ballydooley is a very important horse in this race for a couple reasons. First of all, he can go 7 furlongs.
Yeah.
His last win, and I bet the second horse last time, was one of the most miraculous wins, literally, of the entire meet. I mean, he gets bumped at the start. This is a horse that has never been effective without being forward. He gets bumped at the start, and then he gets steadied again and knocks back to last. He is wide every step of the way. It's not Javier's fault. There's nothing that Javier could have done. He's 3 to 4 wide. He's a horse that's never been effective not being forward. Never. When he can't get the lead, he can't win. And suddenly, all that happens. Now, I know they were lesser horses. I get all of that. But let me say something else about him that I think is important to the race. Eric has ridden him very well in the past, and I think Eric also knows he's a better horse that's forward. And I think Michelle knows. And I don't think Michelle is expecting him to win this race coming from last again. So don't you think it's possible that he's challenging Chuck Willis and at least keeping him honest on the front end?
Yeah, especially going the 7 today. Absolutely.
Eric knows this horse well. He's ridden him well in the past.
That looking at him last time, he's always this kind of. Michelle said it in her interview after the race. He's a chunky monkey, and I've never seen him look this fit, let alone off a layoff. But
it was an amazing race he ran last time.
During his, consistent racing. So I feel like what you're kind of hinting at, that he might just be a better horse for whatever reason now as a 6-year-old coming back this year. Maybe they've worked things out. He's just a sounder horse. That happens.
He can win this horse.
He can win.
He can win this race.
And he could be just right in the perfect spot if he doesn't have the trouble at start again.
He looks cheap.
It's just
he scares me.
They've tried him in better races, and he just, even though he runs like the same figure, he just doesn't get a part of it. That's kind of what held me back with him. And at the 25 level, he can win all day long.
Clearly.
Yeah.
So as far as Soulmate, he's second off a layoff, and I'm not knocking Omar for the ride last time because he rode him well. But I will say that, and I'm not knocking him at all. in retrospect, that race completely and totally
Collapsed.
just evaporated. And he made the move over there,
Yep.
so it blew up in his face. It wasn't, that's the horse he is and the rider he is, but he's a horse who can be a bit forward. He gets Kendrick. This race doesn't have the same look of a race that's going to collapse like the last time. And he has run races good enough to win, and he's going to be a better price. So in a race where I thought the 1, 3, 4, and 7 were the horses that I wanted, and I'm not against the 10, I didn't use him. I used others. I got to take Soulmate in here on top of the price. That's really all it comes down to. Because he's good enough to win.
The thing is I think the 7/8 distance is absolutely
I totally
perfect
agree.
for him.
I think his last race was a layoff, and the early move is what
And
did
the
him in.
Yeah.
Not
Oh,
the rider
I have
at
him
all.
second.
But
I'm
it doesn't hurt to have
with
Kendrick.
you. Yeah.
All right. So the last race today, I'm going to guess, and I haven't seen your picks, that we picked the same horse in the last race. Let's
No.
see. No, we did not. You just couldn't resist Red DGP.
Oh, Andy, it
Just
was
for you, I brought the
so-
replay up of
this-
the race 2 back
This race was so annoying. Like really, really annoying.
because
Because
he's got IRAD.
so
You couldn't
forward.
resist IRAD. You were trying to
That's
stay
what
away
I'm
from him, and you
saying.
jumped on IRAD.
He's just chased better horses. I think last 2 back, the only other time, or not the only other time, but the most recent time he's run for 40, he was against the racetrack. We saw Orm, although he was soundly beaten by Ormstown, he came back and did not
He's a
disgrace
nice
himself
horse.
against
I thought he
the
ran very
heavily
well
backed
yesterday.
Shadow Dragon
I
yesterday.
agree. I thought he ran very well.
He just feels like, at the very least, the class of this field. I get it.
Oh,
Tunnel
he is.
vision could be loose here.
You know,
And
that's my whole point with Tunnel Vision. I know he's got some other speed. Mr. Bust has some speed, but you look at what he was doing. He was chasing that crazy pace in that Lifetime of Chance race that looked like the Woody Stevens, the way that horse. I mean, that horse ran unbelievably. And if you start to take his form apart, he's chasing East Coast Girl on a gold rail back on January 27th.
And East Coast Girl's actually gotten better.
She's actually pretty. He's pretty good, right?
So confusing.
Annoying name. That's when I don't blame myself. I get them all wrong anyway, so I don't have much
Yeah.
leeway. But I just thought he was getting some class relief as far as who he was facing. If you take him apart, he's actually a lot better than he looks in the PP. So I preferred him over the 7. I have no knock on the 7. He's probably the horse to beat. And somebody else wins, Maggie. Go ahead with Mr. Oh, you're just jealous because I got Dalton home earlier this week. So
I had to
you
jump
got
on the
him for a second.
bandwagon.
Yeah, it was the
I had
last
to-
chance to get Dalton home. You were jealous of me. You didn't pick him on top, though. You didn't have enough guts to do that.
Oh, no,
He and Norman Follett have had
definitely
some
not.
success together. They have
Well-
1 or 2 wins together.
Yeah. Well, I think just one, but
Beat that Broody horse that won yesterday in the first race when Linda had him at 1 to 5.
maybe 2 wins.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought he's just steadily kind of improving relative to
Yeah.
the level he's at, and he prompted the pace while 4 wide, and Tommy Gunn was the drop down for Mike Maker that just looked like an overlay of the field, and he certainly was 2 overlay of the field.
That's a
and he
great
certainly
name.
was. Tommy Gunn.
No, Mr.
DeBusta
Busta.
for a Bustin'
I love
Stones.
Mr.
I
Busta.
agree.
I love that name.
There's got to be a Busta Rhymes out of a.
Did you ever see Finding Forrester?
I feel like
Because Busta Rhymes is in it. He plays the older brother.
Oh yeah,
The movie with Sean Connery
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
basically, I mean, sort of, I want to say it's J.D. Salinger, sort of, but yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Been a while.
All right, it's been fun. We're going to
Yep.
go and warm up. But first, we've got 47 slates to get through, so get yourself tied on for this. Head over to Naira Bets, and we're just getting started, guys. Just getting revved up. Free $25 bet and the $200 sign-up match bonus. Belmont 25. As we get close to the Belmont Stakes, only a week left to take advantage of this promotion. We have the middle pick 4, races 2, 3, and 6 for the pick 4s on today's card. We have cross-country pick 5, Monmouth, Woodbine, Churchill, and 2 from Belmont as well. We have a $5,000 hit and split, $2,500 here, $25 at Monmouth, late pick 5s at each, opt-in over at Naira Bets. Free money if you're playing those bets. Do not miss out, opt-in. I've had friends that have gotten half of it. I have friends who've benefited greatly from these. The fact that I have friends is kind of amazing, but the fact that they've won that is not. What else do we have? We have the free-to-play games. Free2play.nairabets.com. Head on over for much, much, much more information on that.
One of your friends is texting you, actually.
David
miraculously.
Argona, he said about high tide. He said when he was looking at the race, he said, I can't have him that high. But then I looked and said, no one's going to pick him, so I have to make him higher. So there you have it. Test of the Champion. There's still some seats left. You don't want to miss out. It is going to be a great day. And not just the day. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Come out for
Whole
all
weekend.
of them. Belmont Stakes Racing. I don't even know if we're really calling it a festival. Are we anymore? I don't
I
think
don't
so.
know. I think
I think we
we're
got
moving away from that.
away from festivals. By the way, High Tide is protected in that race in the claim, which had been noted by us, thanks to my friend Steve and my other friend. 12:30 to 4:48. You can set your clock by that one on FS2. We will continue, though, on YouTube and some regionals until 5:30 as well. That's it. Maggie, thanks.
Thank you.
And Johnny I coming up in a few moments with the reprise, The Scratch and Changes. Have a great day.
For almost 150 years, the Saratoga name has been synonymous with the finest quality, sustainably sourced spring water available anywhere. Saratoga carries on the rich tradition of its forefathers by crafting each stunning blue glass bottle with the same attention to detail and care that has been its hallmark for generations. Visit SaratogaSpringwater.com today or ask for us by name at your local market or restaurant. Saratoga Spring Water. Make every day